This conference will now be recorded.
A scintillating morning to one and all present here. Before going ahead, I'm Hemapriya from second year IT department. On behalf of Loyola Institute of Technology, would like to extend my warm welcome to you all. God speaks to us through dreams, prayer, and reading of Bible. The Bible is the only book whose author is always present when one reads. Now, to read the Bible, followed by the Lord's Prayer, I invite Joel John from second year EC department. Over to you, Joel.
Today's Bible reading is taken from the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 6 to 7. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. Wisdom is supreme, therefore get wisdom. So it costs all you have. Get understanding. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Thank you, Joel. Moving on, next we have the welcome address. Welcoming is one of our great traditions. It symbolizes the rich culture of our country. A warm welcome makes our hearts happy and charges our surroundings with positive energy. And now, to give the welcome address, followed by the chief guest introduction, I invite Geeta Lakshmi from second year AC department. Over to Geeta Lakshmi.
Good morning to one and all present here. It's my pleasure to extend a cheerful Good morning to one and all present here. It's my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to all on behalf of Loyola Institute of Technology, management, administrator, principal, vice principal, HODs and faculties of all departments. We wholeheartedly welcome our resource person, Mr. Vaibhav Raja, and our first year students for today's Bridge Course program. I am very delighted to intro our resource person, Mr. Vaibhav Raja. He has always been a great problem solver and a technophile abused with the latest devices. Currently working as a research scholar at an object automation. He is familiar with an varieties of programming language including Python, Java, C, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. But he is always adding a new skills to our repertoire. He is proficient in machine learning and deep learning programs, and currently he worked on ML use cases using an IBM Axis. Thank you, sir. Once again, I welcome you all for an first year bridge course. Hand over to you, Hema.
Thank you, Geeta Lakshmi. I'm very happy he is with us to make the session more interesting and knowledgeable. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and giving your precious time for us. We all are eagerly waiting for your wonderful session, sir. The session is yours.
Yeah, thank you everyone. So good morning to one and all present here. I am Vaibhav from Object Automation. I'm working as a research scholar here. So today I'll be giving the session on introduction to data science and its use cases. Okay, I hope my screen is visible.
Sir, it is visible. Can you just switch on your camera once for 2 seconds?
Actually, I have some issues with my camera, so I couldn't be able to switch it on.
Okay, no issue, sir. You can continue.
Okay, fine. So we can move on to the session now. So in today's session, we'll be discussing about what data science is and the real examples of data analysis with Python, and how we could use Jupyter notebooks and the introduction to NumPy pandas. We'll also be seeing about data cleaning and how we read data from CSV files. Okay. So before moving on to this, one must need to know what data science actually is. So data science is nothing but it combines the scientific method uh, of mathematics and statistics, specialized programming, advanced statistics of analytics, AI, and even storytelling in order to uncover and explain the business insights of that are buried in the data. So if we have a use case and we have some data that needs to be processed, by using mathematics and statistics and some programming, we could able to get some analytics, so that by those analytics we could able to develop our business, or if we are into creating any products or something, that would be very much useful. So this is how data science comes into the picture. So now let us see what data science actually is. So data science encompasses preparing data for analysis and processing, and also performing some advanced data analysis. So that could be any algorithms, and presenting the results in order to reveal patterns and enable uh, stakeholders in order to draw the informed conclusions. So we have some data. So data can be classified into two types, that is structured data and unstructured data. So structured data is nothing but the data which is present in tables, that is your Excel sheet, or in the form of CSV files. So such kind of data is called to be as a structured data. Unstructured data is nothing but the images and the videos. So such type of data is called to be as unstructured data. Since they could not be classified, so they are called to be as unstructured data. So data science involves both these types of data. Classifying a structured data would be quite simple, but uh, performing any analysis or classifying the data in an unstructured one will be taking much time, and also it is quite difficult. So in order to overcome such difficulties, one must implement some algorithms in order to perform analytics. So that is how data science comes into the picture. So data preparation can involve cleansing, aggregating, and manipulating it to be ready for specific types of processing. So data preparation, that is how do we get the analytics from the data. So that is the process of data preparation. So data preparation involves cleansing, that is cleaning all the data. So if there are any null values that are present inside the data, that would be clean, and then aggregating it, like checking whether the proper data types have been assigned to that data, and then manipulating the data to be ready for specific types of processing. And then analysis requires the development and use of algorithms and statistics to explain the business insights of data. Analytics. There are many tools which uses analytics that we will be discussing in the later slides, and also some AI models. So by developing the analysis, we could also develop AI models. We move on to the next slide now. Okay. So now this is the data science roadmap, where it involves some 6 processes. So our first process would be programming, and then data extraction and wrangling. So wrangling is nothing but cleaning the data, and then EDA. EDA is nothing but exploratory data analysis, that is the data processing part. and then we have the data engineering part, and then statistics and mathematics, and finally the machine learning part. So here in the programming part, we can implement data structures, that is choosing of the programming language, and how we could implement those programming language, implement data structures in that particular programming language. So programming language for data science, either we could use Python or the R language, and then we can also use SQL scripting, and then some conditionals or list or dictionary for the data comprehension, and then object oriented programming. So the language which you are using should be object oriented. It should involve some OOPS concept, so that we could able to analyze the data, and then working with external libraries. So the language which we are choosing must be flexible with working with the external libraries. So external libraries could be NumPy, Pandas, such type of libraries we will be discussing in the later part. So the programming language which you are choosing should be flexible in such a way that whichever libraries which we import in a particular program or in a particular project, it must be able to work properly. And then some fundamental algorithms. So fundamental algorithms, some searching algorithms, some sorting ones, the tree algorithms, the graphs, etc. So these algorithms should be implemented so that when searching for any data or something, or sorting them, that could be useful at that time. And then the advanced part of programming would be functional programming, of how the process is exactly happening. So such kind of discussion could be done using the functional programming. So once after this programming part is over, we can move on to the data extraction and wrangling part. So here what we could do is, this is where we do the scripting part, that is extracting data from the websites or API. So API stands for Application Programming Interface. So this is just to show that when we are collecting the data, where it needs to be passed. For example, uh, we can take the COVID website as an example. So for any vaccination, this one, if you want to register for any vaccination, we will move on to the COVID website. For any developers and programmers, they have some application programming interfaces that are present in the this one, in the COVID website. So from those codes, that those API codes, one could able to use the services that are provided by the COVID website from their mobile phone. That could be from WhatsApp or from Telegram. So just by sending some message, or just by entering some text like at what time one needs appointment, or from which place they are present. So such kind of details when entered through WhatsApp itself, they could able to see in which of the hospitals the slots are available. So this is how API acts. So this kind of process could be done under data extraction and data wrangling. And then like data transformation, that is joining the data, slicing them, and indexing the data. So here we will involve some libraries, that is pandas and numpy. So once after this data extraction part is over, we can move on to the EDA, business acumen, and storytelling. So this is where we are exploring the data. That is what exploratory data analysis. So we are defining the business focused question. Like for example, we will be discussing some programs in this session. So let me just take one example where if we are in a business and we want to see whether how our business has grown, or we can implement some ideas where how the business could be developed. So in order to answer such questions, we could able to get the previous historical data, analyze them, and we can get to know how our business could develop in the future. And then studying the data distribution, that is called to be as outliers, and then some univariate and multivariate analysis, and then the most important part, that is the data visualization part. Because like we will be having some thousands or even in millions of data. If I need to analyze all the data in text format, that would not be possible. But if I just visualize the data either in the form of bar chart or pie chart, it could be anything. So just by visualizing the data, one can draw a conclusion that okay, So our business has been grown, or we need to improve our business model. So such kind of things could be done using data visualization, and then building dashboards. So that could be done using Excel or Tableau or Jupyter Notebook. So building dashboard is nothing but in order to find how our data is being performing. For example, when we are talking about dashboard, for example, we have a website called covid19india.org. So in that covid19india.org, we could able to see the updated, it will be updating every minute about how many COVID cases have been affected in India. It will also give us the data of how many people have been died or how many have been recovered, and it also performs some visualization of how the COVID cases have been performing in India. So such type of dashboards could be found in that website, and it also implements data science as a whole. And then writing concise and insightful reports. So from the analyzed data, we could be able to get some insightful reports, and then business acumen. So business acumen is nothing but what kind of business models could we could develop from the exploratory data analysis. So in order to perform such EDA and then data extraction, so one could become a data analyst. So here is also a job opportunity, that is a data analyst. So a data analyst is one who performs data extraction and wrangling, and also EDA. Okay, fine. So once after this exploratory data analysis process is over, we can move on to data engineering part. So data engineering part is where it requires some strong programming skills and working with CLI. So CLI stands for command line interface, and then building some ETL pipelines, and then using some tools such as Spark or Kafka or Airflow, etc. And then using some cloud services, because data engineering involves some processing of even some terabytes or petabytes of data. So it involves some cloud services such as AWS or Google Cloud or Azure or so on. And then it requires some complex algorithms such as MapReduce or Yarn in order to process the data. And then the final part in this data engineering would be deploying some ML models in production. So for example, if I am developing a product in an orange factory, like where they are exporting oranges to foreign countries. So there, before it gets into the box, all the oranges will be moved on in a conveyor belt, and there will be some cameras and sensors that will detect whether the oranges which are passed to the conveyor belt are intact, or they are fresh, or they are not in a good condition. So if those oranges are not in a good condition, they would be thrown away or they would be passed on to some other box. Only those oranges which are in the good shape and are which in a healthy state, that would be moved on for exporting. So such kind of process could be done using data engineering. So in order to build such kind of product, one need to have analysis of data. So how to identify whether an orange is in a good condition or not? So they need to have some millions of data of images of oranges that are in the good shape as well as in a bad shape. So from that data, ML model could be prepared, so that that model will be able to identify which orange is in a good form and which is not in a good form. So that is how data engineering comes into the picture. And also this data engineering could be done by three people, that is either by a data engineer or a DevOps engineer or a data architect. So once after this data engineering part is over, this is where the statistics and mathematics comes into the picture. So if we want our data to be descriptive, that is we want to find the mean value or the median value or the mode value or standard deviation. So that could be done here. And also inferential, that is if you want to find some hypothesis, testing of hypothesis, or A/B testing, or CL value or P value testing. So such kind of things could be done here, and then experimenting the design, and then finding the probability, so conditional or using Bayes theorem, and then analysis of variance, chi-square test, or sampling our data distribution, t-test, or implementing any linear algebra into our data. And then if you want to implement any calculus, that is by single and multivariate calculus. In order to improve our data, we could use statistics and mathematics. So this is done by data scientist or quantitative analyst. So once after this part is over, the final part would be machine learning. So here in machine learning, it can be normally machine learning could be classified into three types, that is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and then reinforcement learning. So supervised learning is nothing but if we are just giving our data into the machine, and we could able to identify what kind of output it could give. So such kind of machine learning process is called to be as supervised learning. So it involves two types of algorithms, that is classification and regression. So classification is nothing but, for example, we have for a college there are some 1,000 applicants who are applying for the seat. Now using some machine learning models, just by importing those thousands of data, one could able to identify which deserving student could be able to give a seat and which students could be rejected. So such type of classification could be done using supervised learning. In unsupervised learning, we involve some algorithms such as clustering and then dimensionality reduction. So unsupervised learning involves some unstructured data, that is our images, our videos, all those comes under unsupervised data, unsupervised learning. So unsupervised learning can be performed in areas where facial recognition is being taken into picture. For example, if we are implementing attendance system using facial recognition, when the face is being uh, uh, kept in front of the camera, so it recognizes the face and it recognizes the person who is standing in front of the camera. So and also it involves some dimensionality reduction, so that our images which are stored in the database or something like that, their data would not be increased. So such kind of process comes under unsupervised learning. And then reinforcement learning is nothing but it involves some TF agents and optimizing rewards. So the best example for reinforcement learning would be vacuum cleaners. So now there are some vacuum cleaners you could be seeing on internet where the vacuum cleaners will be working on its own, some round ones, not the conventional ones, but the round ones. So when switched on, they would be cleaning the floors on their own. Accidentally, when they hit on a chair or a table, the very next time when they are switched on, they are making sure that there are some obstacles in their path, so that when they are approaching any chair or a table for the next time, they would omit that path so that they would move on to cleaning the other areas. So reinforcement is nothing but when a mistake is committed, it tries to rectify that mistake. So here, when it gets hit on the chair or table for the first time, the very next time it would not go on to that place, so that the ML model learns that there are some obstacles and we need to omit that particular path. So that is what reinforcement learning actually is. And then some performance metrics. So if I want to see how my model is being performed, we can use some metrics such as RMS, accuracy, confusion matrix, AUC, ROC, etc. So by these metrics, one could able to find out the metrics of how their model is being performed. And then we have hyperparameter tuning. So this actually comes under deep learning. And then statistical ML, that is we use KNN algorithm, and then decision trees, bagging or boosting algorithm. So this one is when involving statistics in our ML models, and then ensemble models, that is random forest or voting classifiers or ADA boost. So such type of algorithms could be used for ensemble models. So if one needs to learn about data science uh, from now onwards, they could use this particular roadmap so that they could able to excel in data science. So when you are learning data science for the first time, make sure you are strong in programming, and you are strong in data analysis and data visualization, and then you are able to have some strong programming skills apart from the first programming, and then make sure you are strong in statistics and mathematics, where you can have linear algebra, calculus, everything, and then finally the machine learning part. Okay, so if you have any other doubts, you can just post it in the chat box, else we can move on to the next slide. Okay, now let us see what data analysis actually is. So data analysis is nothing but the process of inspecting, cleansing, transforming, and modeling the data with the goal of discovering useful information, informing conclusion, and supporting the decision making, which is called to be as data analysis. So here let us see everything in detail, where the process of inspecting, cleansing, and transforming. So inspecting, cleansing, and transforming is nothing but when we are giving the data, we are inspecting it whether a model could be created from that particular data, because our data could have some null values, or and they could have some values that are not accurate for the particular this one data type. For example, in the column of date of birth, if we have a mobile number, that would not make sense. So if there are some indiscrepancies in that particular data, we could able to clean that particular data, that is wrangling the data, and then transforming the data into a proper data set, and then finally and modeling the data. So modeling the data is we are creating a model from the data which we are about to use in the program. So that could be an AI model or an ML model. So we are trying to model the data for our requirement with the goal of discovering useful information. So discovering useful information is nothing but the analytics which we are getting from processing the data. So that is getting all the metrics, whether our model is performing well, or getting some insights. For example, uh, we will be discussing about an example today, where it involves prediction of salary for a new employee. So a new employee joins into a company, and they need to give him salary. So how do they uh, find out how much salary that could be paid for that new employee? So they are trying to get the salary details of all other existing employees, and from that they could able to see how much to be paid for the new employee. So that is how discovering useful information acts, and then informing conclusion and this one, and supporting decision making. So informing conclusion is from the data we could able to conclude that this is the output, and then supporting the decision making. So from the visualizations which we have done, we could able to make some decisions that okay, so this is how our business have been improved, or this is how we have to improve our business, or this is how customers have impacted from our business. So such type of decision making could be done using data analysis. Okay, so let us discuss about some data analysis tools. So there are some two types of tools, that is auto managed tools and then the programming languages. So under auto managed tools, that if you want to perform some data analysis, one could use ClickQ or Tableau or Looker or Zoho Analytics or even Power BI. And in the programming languages side, we have Python, R, and Julia. So here, the positives and negatives of these auto managed tools, that is of Quick or Tableau or Looker or Zoho Analytics or Power BI, their main disadvantages is that they are closed source and also they are expensive. We when we are trying to install them, we could either get the trial version or a free version with limited options, and they are limited in usage, and also they are easy to learn. So these are the disadvantages and advantages of auto managed closed tools. But when we are trying to analyze the data or try to visualize the data using programming languages, their positives is that they are open source, they are free or very cheap. But most of the languages are free because they are open source, and they are extremely powerful. So one could able to import libraries in programming languages, so that if we want to implement any complex data, so here we have to move on to programming languages. But one slight disadvantage is it has a steep learning curve. So one could not able to learn those programming languages at the start, but it takes some time in order to learn programming language. But if you want to learn these auto managed closed tools, that would be easy to learn. But when they are learning a program languages, it needs to be linearly processed. They need to learn about the programming fundamentals, and then how the process is being done, how the libraries are being worked upon. So once after those things only, they could able to move on to the process of data analysis or finding the ML models. Such kind of things could be done using programming languages. Okay, so here for most of the time we would be using Python for data analysis. So why using Python for data analysis? So why would we choose Python over R language or Julia? So Python is very simple and intuitive to learn. So since like it does not have much code, and also the processing of the data could be easy, so it is very simple and intuitive to learn, and it is the correct language. So why we use this word correct? Because Python is open source, and also it keeps evolving over time period. For example, if we take a Java program, so uh, if we use that program 10 years ago, that program is what we'll be using even today. But if we take a Python program that is 10 years old, we could able to find the difference between a Python program 10 years ago and a Python program that is written today. The language is getting simplified so that anybody could able to learn, and also another thing is it is getting powerful. So how it is getting powerful is it has some libraries. So whichever libraries which we have used in other programming language, that is in Java or C++ or any other object oriented programming language, so that kind of libraries could also be used in Python. So that is what Power Libraries. It is not just limited for data analysis. It could be for any other purposes. For example, we have tkinter. So tkinter is used for designing graphical user interface using Python. So that is also a library. And then another advantage is it is free and open source, and it has an amazing community, documents and conferences. So if one needs to rectify any bugs in the program, in the Python programs, so there are many online communities that could be able to help them out, so that all their bugs could be debug easily, and there are more number of documentation that are available in the internet. If you just go on to python.org, you could find lots and lots of official documentation that will give a deep insight of how Python is being used, and what kind of process or what kind of use cases that could be used in Python. And then we have some local conferences uh, that are where Python developers will be participating in such conferences. So this is the advantage of using Python over R language or Julia. Okay, so when is the time to use R language? So we have been discussing about Python, but when to choose R? So we can choose the R Studio, that is R program language, when it is needed. So when it is needed, when dealing with advanced statistical methods. So if our program involves a lot of statistical methods and mathematical functions, at that time we could use R programming language. And also when extreme performance is needed. So when any mathematical performance is being used in that particular program or in particular model, at that time we could use R programming language. So this is the same applied for Julia programming language also. Okay, so let us now see about the data analysis process. So we have already seen that in our data science roadmap, but still we could see about this data analysis process in detail in the next slide. Okay, so data analysis involves 5 processes, that is data extraction, data cleaning, data wrangling, analysis, and then action. So here in data extraction, so our data could be in the form of SQL, that is database. It could be scraping. So scraping is nothing but taking the data from any web pages or something using tools such as Selenium or so on. So the file format of the data could be in the form of comma separated values, that is CSV or JSON, or in the form of XML, and then consulting APIs of how the data is being accumulated and where it needs to be passed, and then in the form of buying the data, and then in the form of distributed databases. Okay, so this is how in these types of data storages we could be able to extract the data in order to perform data analysis. In the next case we will be seeing about data cleaning. So data cleaning is in order to remove missing values and empty data, data imputation, and then incorrect types. So incorrect types is in the place where we need to give phone number. If we give any text, that is we are giving a name or something like that. So there is an incorrect data type which is being used there. And then incorrect or invalid values. So incorrect or invalid values is nothing but, for example, in the age column, if some employee or if some student age is given as 170 years, so that is an incorrect value. So because nobody could live up to 170 years, so such type of things could be rectified under data cleaning. And then using outliers and non-relevant data in the data cleaning, and then statistical sanitization. So if putting the statistical process in the process of data cleaning is what called to be as statistical sanitization. So the next process would be data wrangling. So data wrangling which involves hierarchical data and then handling the categorical data and reshaping and transforming the structures. So if we have some hierarchical data, that is nothing but we have some data from the past till the present, and if you want to reshape the data or transform that structure, like adding some columns or removing some columns, so that is what called to be as reshaping and transforming the structures. And then indexing our data for quick access. So if we have some millions of data and we need to access that data, that is where data wrangling comes into the picture. So we could index the data in such a way that we have a student database. So in that particular database, some details of thousands of student data is being present there. Now, if I want to just get the details of students who are pursuing in the IT department. So by indexing each and every department, I could able to get the details of that particular department. So if I give the IT department in the search query, so only the students from IT department that could be come into the picture. If I go for CSE, so only that, EC only that. So if we try to index each and every data, so that we can access such data in a quick way, and then merging the data, combining and joining the data. So if we have some columns of data such as first name or last name, now if I want to merge that data, so that could be done under data wrangling. So once after data extraction, data cleaning and data wrangling is done, we can now move on to analysis part. So in the analysis, we can have exploration. So how our data is now present, and then building some statistical models of what algorithm we could use in the analysis process, and then visualization and representation. So how we are trying to represent or visualize the data. Now we have some students marks details where we want to visualize the data. Now if we have some 400 students data, like we are taking one department as a whole, and we have to see which student has performed well and which student did not perform well. Now if we try to visualize such a data, we can able to find how the data, like how the students have been performed, whether their performance have been increased, or it has been maintained properly, or it has been decreased. So in that case, we can visualize the data. And then correlation versus causation analysis. So correlation versus causation analysis is nothing but we are trying to correlate the data. So for example, there is a visualization technique called heat map. So when using heat map, one could able to correlate the particular columns. So for example, the marks obtained in one subject could be related to marks obtained in another subject, so that we could able to tally those particular marks. So that is the place where correlation comes into the picture. And then we could implement some mathematical operation, statistical operations such as hypothesis testing, statistical analysis, and then reporting the data. So once after all these processes done, we could able to report the data. So once after analysis is over, this is where the action takes place. Action is either we are building the ML model, or we are getting a conclusion from the data analysis. So here is where we are trying to build the machine learning model, and then feature engineering comes into the picture. So feature engineering is, for example, how our model is being performed, or what kind of improvement that need to be done, or what kind of features that could be done. So all comes under this feature engineering. And then are moving ML into production. So our once our model is ready, we could move that to the production. So production is where the actual process is being done. So here I have mentioned about the orange factory example. So once after the ML model is being developed, so that could be implemented in the cameras and sensors, so that we could able to identify the healthy oranges and the oranges which are in the bad shape. And then building the ETL pipelines, so those data pipelines. And then we could also have some live dashboard and reporting. So the number of oranges that are passing through that sensor and cameras, so that could be reported lively, like how many oranges have been passed, how many of them have been rejected, how many of them have been approved. Such kind of data could be reported in a live dashboard. And then the final process is decision making and real life testing. So decision making is nothing but we are getting a conclusion about how our model has been performed. Like for example, in the example which we have discussed, that is a student getting admitted into a college. So out of those 1,000 applicants, if they have performed very well in their public examination, or if they have that particular cutoff mark which satisfies their admission needs, so such kind of students would be given the admission. So that is where we are making a decision that these number of students are getting admitted, these number of students are rejected, and some students could be, and some students could come under the waiting list. So this is where the decision making part comes into the picture. So this is how data analysis could be done under data science. Okay, now let us see how data analysis and data science can be varied. Actually, data science comes under, data analysis comes under data science, but still, let us find the difference between the two. So here we have a visualization where the analysis, data analysis versus data science in a traditional view. So it involves these 5 processes, that is data cleaning, data extraction, data action, exploratory data analysis, and then data wrangling. So here when we talk about data analysis, so it performs some data extraction in a 2 scale, like up to in 0 to 5. It performs up to 2, and then data cleaning is also 2, and then we have data wrangling, and then exploratory data analysis, and action is only minimum in the case of data analysis. But in the case of data science as a whole, we could able to find the results are much higher when compared to the data analysis, where data extraction is also being done effectively, data cleansing done effectively, and then data wrangling is also done well. Also the ED, that is exploratory data analysis, also done well. And the final part, that is the data action, like how the decision making is being done, that could also be done well when using data science as a whole. So this is the representation of data analysis versus data science. Okay, so now we can discuss about Python and PyData ecosystem. That is how Python could be used in data science and what kind of libraries that are needed when using Python. Okay, so these are some of the libraries, main libraries that could be used for data analysis and data science. There are some thousands of libraries in Python, but from a beginner's point of view, and also like in events in a production point of view, these types of libraries would be much useful. That is the pandas, matplotlib, numpy, seaborn, stats model, scipy, and then scikit-learn. So pandas is nothing but that is the main library, that is the cornerstone of our data analysis job with Python. So pandas involves data analysis. That is, if we try to uh, put our data into the program, into our program, we are trying to put our data set into the program. So our data set could be converted into a pandas data frame, so that all that analysis or data manipulation, data cleansing, all could be done under the pandas library itself. So when using data science programs, pandas library is a must. And then for visualization purpose, we could use matplotlib and seaborn. So matplotlib is nothing but the foundational library for visualization. Other libraries we use will be built on top of matplotlib, because there are some more visualization libraries, but all of them comes under this matplotlib library. So this is one for use for uh, data visualization. So the next main library is Numerical Python, that is NumPy. So it is a numeric library that serves as the foundation of all the calculation in Python. So if I want to perform some matrix calculation, just take an example like that. So that could be done using the NumPy library, or any other complex mathematical operation. If we just try to know what is the exact code that is done in NumPy, we could able to process the data very much easily. So that is the purpose of this NumPy library. And then we have Seaborn library. In Seaborn library, it is also a visualization library where it shows a statistical point of view that is built on top of the matplotlib. So for example, if I want to perform some exploratory data analysis where I want some data visualization in the form of heat map. So inside we could import the model, advanced statistical function. So if these libraries does not able to get those statistical functions, in that case we could use the stats model library. Another important library is SciPy, that is scientific Python, which is an advanced scientific computing, which includes functions for optimization, linear algebra, image processing, and much more. So in the case of which involves linear algebra or processing of images, such kind of process could be done when importing the SciPy library. So another important library is the Scikit-Learn. So Scikit-Learn is one of the most popular machine learning library for Python. So under Scikit-Learn, we have a lot of models, that is pre-built ML models, so that the time for creating an ML model is being reduced, and also that particular library will effectively single-handedly able to process the data, able to get our performance metrics, and also it has some data sets which are embedded inside those inside that particular library, so that if I want to uh, get into an experience of how the data analysis is being done, I could just able to import that particular module. So module is nothing but what are the processes that are involved in that library. I could able to import the library from the import the module from the particular Scikit-Learn library, so that all the process of machine learning model creation or any other performance metric process can be done in the Python ecosystem. Now let us see how Python data analysts think. I hope the slide is being changed. Just a minute. Okay, fine. Okay, so let us see about how Python data analysts think. So here, if I want to perform any data analysis, that is either by Excel or Tableau, what we have to do is we have to import the data. We have to write a lot of calculations, a lot of codes here under this FX bar, so that only then our data can be analyzed, or we could able to get some visualization in the form of pie chart or any other graphs. Here, if we have some 10 lines of data or 20 lines of data, in that case, Excel or Tableau would be very much effective. But if we are involving some millions of data, in that case, Excel or Tableau could not able to handle such amount of data. So in that case only, we will implement some programming languages for data analysis such as Python or Julia and so on. Okay, so this is where we can able to think like a Python data analyst, because when we are trying to involve such amount of data, we have to make sure that what is the right programming language to use, either Python or R. So most probably we can able to choose Python because it is a powerful language, and also it has a lot options for library importing. If I want to analyze my data using linear regression, just by importing a Scikit-Learn library, I could able to import linear regression module under Scikit library, so that I can able to analyze my data using the linear regression model. So we have to think like a Python data analysis. We have to analyze what kind of library or what kind of algorithm which I could able to use in my program. Because once if you are a established data scientist, some and when you are working for a company, your higher official may want to ask you to implement data science or the data analysis in a deep learning model. So in that case, the process becomes complex, and also it takes a lot of time. But even though it involves a lot of data, in such cases, that particular analysis could be done by using some basic ML algorithms also. They could not be able to, there is no necessity for using deep learning in such cases. So a data analyst using Python should be able to see what algorithm or what thing that could be used for analysis, either a machine learning model or a deep learning model. Okay, so this is what we have to think like a Python data analyst. Okay, and finally, why Python? So that is what we have discussed so far. So it is a powerful language, and also it has a lot of libraries in order to implement our process. Okay, we move on to some of the use cases, data science use cases that can be implemented. Okay, so here the first thing could be, okay, hope the slide is still, yes. Okay. So we have one use case, that is travel. So for example, we are trying to book some tickets in IRCTC website, or we are trying to check the flight prices in Google Flights website. So when moving on to IRCTC website or IRCTC app, there are some trains that have dynamic pricing. That is, some trains like Shatabdi Express or Duronto or Rajdhani Express or any other the costly ones. So in such trains, we have dynamic pricing. That is, like for example, if you are trying to book that ticket in advance, in that case, that price would be minimum. But if you are trying to book the ticket for tomorrow, in such case, the price would be very high. So this is where dynamic pricing comes into the picture. So if I want to implement the dynamic pricing in my application, then in such cases I could use data science, and then predicting the flight delay. So based upon the like for example, when traveling in a flight, we could able to see where the flight is being moved on. So like if going in a Qatar Airlines or something like that, we could able to see what is present above our aeroplane, or what is below that, what are in the signs, and we can able, or we can also able to see where we are currently located. So that data is not only visible for the passengers, but even the ones who are sitting in the land. That is, they could be anywhere else. So such kind of prediction could be done in data science. That is the flight delay, or where the flight is currently located. Such kind of things could be done using data science. The next thing could be marketing. So marketing is nothing but where which involves upselling or cross selling, the predicting the lifetime value of the customer, their churn. All these marketing techniques or tactics could be done using the data science. So if I now want to predict the stock market prices, whether the stocks could increase or decrease, I can just take some historical data, like for 20 years data, and if I could create an ML model from that, I could able to identify how the stock market prices would be in the future, whether the price would increase or the stock market would crash. All that could be done in the marketing sector. That is, it also has some cross selling, like how the product is being sold, or we are predicting the lifetime value of a customer. Like for example, we have Apple. So a person like Apple has a lot of marketing strategies where if a person tries to buy the Apple iPhone for a first time, the next time if an iPhone model is being released, the company will make sure that the same person who has bought the previous model will also be able to buy the same model. So that is what predicting the lifetime value of the customers. So the next thing would be healthcare sector. Though, so data science is mainly used in this healthcare sector because if you want to predict any disease or any medication effectiveness, or if you want to create a chatbot for a healthcare sector, all that could be done using data science. So if I want to predict the disease, like for example, if I want to predict a person whether he or she has brain tumor, or he or she has a healthy liver, or if they have breast cancer or not, such kind of prediction could be done using data science just by implementing some machine learning or deep learning strategies. One could able to predict the disease and then find the effectiveness of the medication. Okay, so the next process would be the social media. Social media is we where process such as digital marketing or sentimental analysis all comes under the social media. So digital marketing is nothing but, for example, if we are trying to search a product in Google, so we are trying to buy a Wi-Fi router. So that particular Wi-Fi router or particular broadband plan for from a particular internet service provider, if you try to search that, the very next moment, especially in Facebook, we could able to find from Airtel, from Hathway, from ACT FiberNet, because we have tried to search for some broadband plans and also the Wi-Fi routers, so that such kind of ads, and also some ads related to TP-Link Wi-Fi router or Netgear Wi-Fi router. So those Wi-Fi routers advertisements are also being seen, and also the advertisement from ISPs, that is Internet Service Provider, that could also be seen. So it is a tactics of digital marketing. So they are able to find what the user is being searching, and from the data they could able to market that particular product in the form of advertisements in social media sites. And then we have the sentimental analysis. So sentimental analysis is nothing but uh, for example, so once we are using this Google Meet or Zoom or this GoToMeeting, so once after we try to leave from the meeting, the very next moment we are getting a pop-up stating that how many rating could you could give for our software. And if we give a higher rating, it would just say thanks and then our application gets closed. But if we are giving a lower rating, that is a 1 star or a 2 star, the very next moment it will move on to another page stating that what service could be improved, or what are the issues that you have faced. So this is one example of sentimental analysis, whether the person is satisfied with the service or not. Such kind of analysis could be done using sentiment analysis. And also, like we have the website called IMDb. So in IMDb we could able to find the movie reviews and their comments. So from that data also we could perform the sentimental analysis, whether the person liked that film or he or she does not like that film. Such kind of sentimental analysis could also be performed. So this is where social media can be done in using data science. The another thing could be sales. So under sales we have demand forecast, supply forecast, and discount offering. So for example, if a product does not performing well or it has a minimum sales, what the e-commerce websites could do is they could try to put some offers so that the product is being sold. So that is how sales comes under data science. So another process in data science is automation, that is self-driving cars, and then pilotless aircrafts, that is drones, something like that. So automation could be done in such a way that we could able to put some lot of sensors into a particular car. Like we have the cars from Tesla, where if the person sits and if he just starts the car would drive on. And there are some number of numerous cameras that are being placed on the car, so that if any obstacle comes or if there are any traffic signs are being spotted, the car could be able to identify such traffic signs, so that, and if there is a school sign like school children crossing sign, so it could able to slow down the car, so that since that particular place is near to the school, so the car would slow down automatically. And in the case where if the signal is lighted red, the car will stop immediately. If it is green, then the car would start on its own. So such kind of things could be done under self-driving cars. In pilotless aircrafts and drones, now if I like if I want to some enemy countries, we could able to put drones so that the we could able to minimize the loss of the lives of soldiers. So in such cases, these drones could be very useful, so that these war drones could be able to attack the enemy camps, not only in the perspective of war, but also in the case where if you want to uh, check in the places where even the humans could not be able to go, like the place where very near to volcanoes, or in the place of any floods or something like that. Just by sending a drone, we could able to see how those areas have been affected. So in such cases too, this automation is being implemented. So also we are heading into a sector called Industry 4.0, where all the processes are being automated and there is a very minimum human interference, that is just maintaining the machines whether they are working or not. So when we are moving towards Industry 4.0, in that case automation is being improved very much well. So the final thing is
சார் நீங்க பேசுறது கேட்கவே இல்லை சார்.
Vaibhav sir. Vaibhav sir, your voice is not audible, sir.
Sir, Vaibhav sir. Sir, Vaibhav sir. Sir.
பேசுறது கேட்க மாட்டேங்குது.
Sir. Sound is not.
Students, please hold on. Please hold on.
Sir, Vaibhav sir. Sir, Vaibhav sir.
Please hold on. Students,
Sir,
can you
Vaibhav
hear
sir.
me? Students,
Sir.
hello. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yeah, ma'am.
Please hold on.
Yes, ma'am.
I am speaking to Vaibhav.
Sir,
Please hold
Vaibhav
on.
sir.
Students, please hold on.
Student, please mute your mic. Close section. Sir, close section. Sir. Sir. Sir, Vaibhav sir.
Vaibhav is trying to rejoin, sir. Sir, actually he's speaking, but we cannot able to hear him. So he's trying to rejoin.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Disconnect ஆச்சு நான் திருப்பி ஜாயின் பண்ணுறேன்.
Sandhya ma'am, are you there?
Hello. Yes, ma'am, I'm in line. So I spoke to just Vaibhav. So is
Okay.
the app is hanging. So he's just refreshing and they will join in another. Probably students
Yeah, you
can
asked him
take a
to
break
log
for
out.
5 minutes.
Yeah, you asked
Yeah,
him
ma'am,
to
he logged
log
out
out,
and
and
he's logging again.
if
Yes,
any
yes,
issues
he's
with the
doing that.
site, you ask him to share the site. We will present.
No, not problem with the slide, ma'am. Like software.
Okay.
Probably, yeah, he'll be
Okay.
joining in few minutes, ma'am. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay.
You are muted by the
Ma'am,
Students, be on the line. You be in the meeting itself. Okay, this class will be starting in 2 minutes.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Hello.
sir, you're audible.
Yes, sir.
yes,
Yes,
Vaibhav.
sir, you are audible. You
Yeah,
can carry on.
Yes, sir.
yeah, okay. Yeah. Thank you, thank you. Ma'am, could you just give me the option so that I could be able to share the screen?
Sir, we have made you as a presenter, sir. You can just start your screen.
Ma'am, like, okay, but it is okay. Okay, fine. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay. Like, is my screen visible? No.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So, okay. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, students. Thank you. So, at the time when I got disconnected, we were discussing about the credit and insurance. So this credit and insurance involves the process where which person needs to be given the credit card, or which person deserves to get credit card, or which person deserves to get insurance or loan. Such kind of process could be automated using this credit and insurance process in data science, so that it could be able to find the transactions of the user of how they have done the transaction, whether it was in a good way or there are some vulnerabilities that are found in that transaction. So such type of people could not be given any credit cards or any loans. Only the person who deserves to get that will be able to get the loan or credit, and also the detection of any fraudulence or and risk. So for example, if anyone tries to steal money from the bank in the form of any cyber security attacks, so in that case AI would be very much helpful. It could also able to predict if any cyber security attack is about to get approached to that particular bank server. So such kind of process could be done with the help of data science. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so this is just a job role of a data analyst and a data scientist. So what a data analyst would do? So they come under the business administration and exploratory data analysis. So a data analyst would perform business administration would do this. It would also do the exploratory data analysis, and also they will be implementing some machine learning.
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank
Sir.
you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to
Yes,
the
sir.
next. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so what are the advantages of learning Python as well as data science is that a data analyst or data scientist or a Python programmer's salary will increase by more than 20%, who knows both Python as well as SQL, because that is the place where we need the data as well as where the data is being processed. So the people who have roles such as business analyst or business intelligence analyst, a data scientist, a data engineer, DevOps engineer, such kind of people will earn 20% more when compared to a conventional software engineer. Okay, fine. Okay, so now we'll move on to the programming part. Okay, I hope this particular browser is visible where bike store sales is visible. Is it visible? Bike store sales.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. Yeah, okay, thank you. So here we are going to check how the sales have been being made in this particular bike store. So firstly, we are going to analyze the data by importing the Python packages. That is, first we are importing NumPy for mathematical operation, Pandas for data analysis, then Matplotlib in order to visualize our data. So we are importing these libraries. In addition to that, we are also using and then we are installing Scikit, giving the command people install Scikit. Okay. So once after we import the data, next process would be data into program. So what a Zoom looks like many students from CSC and IT department knew about and then the have been doing this course since we have been teaching students on how. Is my voice breaking now? How is it now? Hello.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Sir.
Hello. Anyone? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, fine. So if my voice breaks in the middle, just make sure that you just tell me so that I could do the next part. Okay. So I hope it is audible now. Now we can move on to the program. So once after we import all the libraries, it is time. It is time to load our data set. So here, once after we load our data set by giving pd.read.csv. So pd stands for pandas. So using the pandas library, we are trying to insert our data set and we are reading the data into it. Now, if I just want to see how much data, actual data is being present in my data, like if I just want to see the first 5 rows of the data, I could just give the command sales.head. So the sales.head will give me the first 5 rows of the data where we have the columns like date, day, month, year, customer age group, customer gender, country, state, product category, subcategory, all that could be done using this sales.head. Okay, now we'll move on to the sales.shape. This sales.shape command will give us an output like how many rows and columns of data do we have as a whole in our data set. So we have some 1,13,000 plus rows of data and 18 columns of data. So by giving sales.shape command, we are able to get the output. And if I just want to check the data type or any other information related to the data set, I could give the command sales.info. So by giving sales.info, I could see the class of the data set as pandas.core.frame.dataframe. So as I have mentioned earlier, our data set is now converted into a pandas data frame. And then our range index, that is rows, is 1,13,000 entries. Okay, and then data columns is 18 columns. So for each and every column, we are checking whether there are any null values. So there are no null values. That is what is found as not null. And then the data type is given as date time 64. So our date would be in the form of date time 64 data type. So day, month is and all in integer, object, and so on. So our whole data set size would be 15.5 MB. So if I just want to describe my sales, so if I want to find the values of mean or standard deviation or medium values or maximum values, so that kind of values could be found by giving the command sales.describe. Okay. So once after these things could be found, we can now move on to the actual numerical analysis and visualization of our data. So if I want to analyze the unit cost column alone, the unit cost column comes somewhere here. Okay, unit cost is so 1 unit of a accessories, like either it is a bike rack or this one, anything. So that particular 1 unit of cost would be 45. So if I analyze the unit cost column, I could able to count, that is the total number of rows, their mean value, the standard deviation, their minimum value. So 25% of the data consists of this, 50% this, 75 this, and the maximum value of a unit is 2171, and the data type could also be found. Now if I give dot describe, it would describe all the particular operation, all the operations. If I want only mean or medium, in that case we can give unit cost dot median mean function or median function, so that we could only able to get the values of mean value or a median value. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
okay, students. Thank you. Just wanted to confirm. Okay, so once after we able
Yes,
to
sir.
get the values of yeah, okay, thank you so much. So once after we get the values of mean and median, now we are able to uh, plot these values. That is, we are able to visualize the values. So here, this type of visualization is called to be as a box plot, where we are trying to plot all of these data points. So whatever the data which is in present of these rows are now being placed as data points. So all these circles are nothing but are data points. So this data points shows us that how the units, that is whatever the products cost, are being visualized here. So from 0 to 500 this number of items, from 500 to 1000 this number of items. So that is how we are able to plot the data points in a box plot. Now if I want to plot all these in the form of density plot, density in the case, now if we have like the products and the prices and the density, like how much the density is, like how much the items are there for that particular prices, in that case I could able to find the density of the data set. So this is how we could plot the density, like for the particular column unit cost we are finding the density, we are setting the figure size. So we are going able to get a graph like this. So now what I am trying to do is I am trying to get the same density, but additionally I am also trying to get the graph of mean value and then median value, and I am giving the color red for mean, then giving the color green for a median value. Okay, so now we are able to find the uh, green value is what the median value and the red is what the mean value. So whichever the data, that the line that passes through it, is what the unit cost. So majority of them are being present in that particular column, that is the mean, the column which is present between the mean bar as well as the median bar. Okay, so now this is the type of visualization. So first we saw about box plotting and then density plotting, and now we are going to see about a histogram plotting. So we are going to plot the sales here, unit cost, and then we are setting the x-axis label as dollars, y-axis labels as number of sales. When compared to density plot and box plot, the histogram plot is able to clearly visualize of how many sales have been done in how many dollars. Like for example, like let us consider the 0 to this particular place like $100 or $200, where the majority of sales between 0 to 100 or 200 have been done here particularly, because we are able to see the bar here. Some more than 85,000 sales have been done in the products which are priced between 0 to 100 or 200, and then as the price increases, gradually this increases. But in some cases where over here the sales have been increased, like let us consider this as 1100 to 1300, where it has been increased. And once again, if when going above $1,800, there too the sales have been increased. So we are able to get to a conclusion that majority of the sales have been done in the place where the product priced between 0 to 100 or 200. Okay, is that clear? So now we move on to the categorical analysis and visualization. So now we are going to categorize and visualize the data in detail. So now we are going to analyze the age group column. So far we have analyzed the unit cost. Now we are going to analyze the age group column. Now once again we are checking the sales set of all the 18 rows of 18 columns of data and the first 5 rows. Now if I want to check the last 5 rows, I can give a tail. Now if I want to see all the particular 1,13,000 rows, then I have to give only sales. Now if I give shift enter, then all those 1,18,000 rows would be visible in our Jupyter notebook. Okay, so now, okay, oh sorry, okay, okay, fine. So now we are analyzing the age group of how the value has been counted. So the number of sales between the adults is the maximum. So people with ages between 35 and 64, there the sales is higher. In the second place, the young adults, and third is the youth, that is age below 25, and then the senior citizens, the age above 64, and all of the data type is in the integer format. Okay, so if I want to find the value counts function for each of the columns, I will do. Okay, now when compared to value like this, if I want to visualize this value in the form of pie chart, I can just give dot plot kind is equal to pi, figure size 6,6. So now our data set is being visualized. So here when compared to reading the data here, just by looking at this pie chart, we can able to see that the sales among the adults is higher, and then in the next place we have young adults, youth, and then finally the senior citizens. Okay, okay, so once after this pie chart is over, now we can also able to plot the chart in a bar chart format, where we are able to find where the sales have been increased and where it is low, where it is high and where it is low. So here in adults, the same, it's going above 50,000, and then young adults, and then youth, and then senior. So this is a type of visualization, and this is one type of visualization. So when compared to pie chart, the bar plot, we are able to find a clear difference where the sales is higher and sales is low. Okay, so now we can able to check how the relationship between the columns are present. This is where the correlation comes into picture. That is what we are given CORR. So if you give a command like sales.corr, we can able to find the correlation of the columns. Yeah, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
But we can't
Yes,
see the
sir.
screen, sir.
Screen is not
My screen
audible.
is not visible.
Yes, sir. Your
Yes,
screen
sir.
not visible.
Yes, sir. Your screen not
Yeah,
visible.
yeah, just a minute, just a minute. Oh, ma'am, my option for presenting has been disabled, ma'am. Once again, can anyone just give me the option to present the screen? When I just move my cursor here, it shows to share, ask the organizer to make the presenter. So can anyone just make me a presenter as soon as possible, please? Hello?
Hello, can you hear
Hello?
me?
Sir, just a minute, sir.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
sir. Okay, so now it is visible. Fine. Okay, fine. Like students, is my screen visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
COR, the variable sales dot correlation, we are able to find the correlationship between all the columns. So now by seeing the data, by seeing the uh, numbers here, we find some difficulties whether there are some relationship, actual relationship or not. We as some programmers able to know by if there is one, then the columns are same, and if the numbers are very near like 0.99 or something like that, those columns are related to each other. For a person who doesn't have any programming knowledge, or even if at the time where there is a lot of rows and columns that are to be dealt, so in that case we are able to we have to visualize this particular data frame. So here we are going to visualize a data set or data frame in the form of heat map, and the heat map we are giving in the form of vertical. So all the x-axis, y-axis values are going to be printed here, and we are setting the figure size as 8, 8. So now our heat map will look like this. I will also decrease the size here. Okay, I hope the heat map is visible now. So whichever boxes that have the darkest colors, okay, so it could be darker in brown or darker in blue, whichever the colors that are darker, there the columns are correlated to each other. Whichever columns that are light in shade, there the columns are not related to each other. So whichever columns that are in the peach shade, they are not related to each other. So whichever that have the darkest shade, here in the brown or here in the blue, so these kinds of rows are interrelated to each other. So we are just checking it so that in particular cases we could able to merge those particular rows or particular columns. Okay, so now, okay, once again I'll just increase the size so that you will be able to see the code. Okay, so in the sales plot, what we are going to do is we are trying to plot all the data points. That is what scatter plot means. So in the x-axis we have customer age, and then in the y-axis we have revenue, and then we are setting the figure size. So whichever the data points are, like how the revenue has been generated, that is all being plotted here. So in the case where age between 50 to 60, we find some data points that are going above 50,000 and then 60,000. So this kind of visualization could be done using scatter plot. So other kind of scatter plotting, where here it is about customer age and then revenue. So we are trying to figure out, like we are trying to bring a relationship between the customer age and then revenue. Here it is between the revenue and the profit. Okay. So as the revenue increases, the profit also is being increased, because both are interrelated to each other. Because if one increases, other would increase automatically. So in order to confirm that, we are trying to plot the data points. So as the revenue keeps increasing, the profit is also being increased. Okay. So now we are trying to box plot the profit and age group in the form like this. Okay. So here in the places where adults are present, the profit is extremely high. It ranges from 0 to above 14,000 it is going. Senior citizens, it is quite low. Young adults is also going around below 6,000. All of them are going below 6,000 in the profit zone. Only in the adults column we are able to see profits which are skyrocketing. Okay, fine. Now if I want to plot it, all the columns, that is year, customer age, order quality, unit cost, unit price, profit, using box plot, I could give a command like this, and then I'm just giving like the kind of plotting is box plots is equal to the layout and then the figures, because it involves a lot number of columns. So we are trying to build a visualization like this. Okay. Okay, now we'll move on to the section where we are trying to wrangle the data. So wrangle the data is we are trying to manipulate the data which is present inside this particular data frame. So now we are going to add a new column called revenue per age. So as of now we have 18 columns. Now we are going to add a new column, that is revenue per age. So this revenue per age, what it will do is, so it is going to calculate the revenue as per the age of the customers. So we could able to calculate this revenue per age by revenue divided by the age of the customer. So that will give us the revenue per age. So for all the 1,13,000 rows, this revenue per age will be reflected. Now if I want to plot it using the density plot, we will get a plotting like this. Now if I want to have some more insights, I could visualize this data in the form of histogram. So here we can able to find the frequency and the sales, and how much sales has been happened. So most of the sales happen between $0 to $100. That is where the frequency is higher, and as the price increases, gradually the frequency is also decreased. Okay. So now once after we add this particular revenue per age column, we are trying to add a new column, that is calculated cost column. So this calculated cost column, we have a formula, that is order quantity, a column called order quantity, which is multiplied with the unit cost. So we are in order to implement this this one, that is the formula, we are writing a command sales of calculated cost, which is equal to sales of order quality multiplied with sales of unit cost. So sales of calculated cost, okay, if I want to check how the calculated cost has been calculated, I could give a command like calculated cost dot head. So the first 5 rows will be visible. So here, this is how the calculated cost is. Okay. So now I am giving a command calculated cost is not equal to sales of cost of dot sum. We get a value like 0. So now in the next place we could find the relationship between cost and profit using a scatter plot. Now we are going to find the relationship between the cost of a product and the profit earned from that particular cost. So in the x-axis we have calculated cost, and the y-axis we have the profit. So as the calculated cost increases, the profit is also being increased. So that could be found in this scattered plot. So once again, now we are going to add and calculate a new column called calculated revenue. So that could be used by the formula cost in addition to the profit. So after creating this column by adding the cost column with the profit column, now if we run the command, we could able to get calculated revenue from the cost and profit. Okay. So we are also checking whether it is not equal to sales one when we are getting a value like 0. Now we have now if we try to check our data frame, our data set, it is now increased from 18 columns to 21 columns. Okay, so all these 3 columns have been added in the last: revenue per age, calculated cost, and then calculated revenue. Okay, so now if we can just plot this data in the form of histogram, where we could able to see profit, how the sales has been performed. So if I want to modify all unit price values by adding 3% tax to them. So now if I want to add 3% tax in all of the unit prices, I could just give a command like sales of unit price multiplied equal to, so this is an operation which is equal to 1.03. So 1.03 is loosely is 3%. So if I just multiply it, we could get a value like 127.308. Okay, so now by adding the 3% tax, we could able to see the price has been increased from 120 to 127.308. Students, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So now I'm able to see the unit has been increased from 120 to 127 when we are adding percent tax. Okay. So now we can go to selection. So now we are going to state of column.
Sir, your voice is breaking,
Sir,
sir.
your voice is breaking, sir.
Now it's fine. Or is it still breaking?
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir.
Sir, class ಮುಗಿದಿದೆ sir.
Is my voice clear now? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
Yes, sir.
yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fine. Thank you, students. Thank you so much. Okay, is my
But
screen
I
visible now?
believe again your screen is not visible. No, no, Vaibhav.
Screen is not visible. Okay.
Sir.
Let me just check what
Yeah,
happened.
now it's visible. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. So let me just try to share
No,
it
no,
once
now it
again.
is not visible again.
Yeah, it will be visible now. Visible now. I hope it should
One
be
second,
visible
it's
now.
loading. Yeah, it's visible now.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
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 sir.
it's visible.
Yeah, okay. So thanks to all the
And the
students for
tabs
this.
are
Okay,
also
now we move.
visible.
What, ma'am?
Yes, yes, done, done. You're good to go. Good to
Yeah,
go.
okay, ma'am.
Good to go.
Fine. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So now we are going to the process of selection and indexing, where we are going to get all the sales that are made in the state of Kentucky. So in United States, we are going to get only the sales that are made in the state of Kentucky. So by giving a command like sales.loc of sales of state that is equal to Kentucky, we are able to get the sales from the state of Kentucky. Okay, so we have some 10 rows of data with 21 columns. Okay, so there are 10 that have been done in from the state of Kentucky. So if you want to get the mean revenue of the adults from the age group of 35 to 64, we can give a command called sales.log. We are trying to give the name of the column equal to adults of 360 like 35 to 64, and then we are selecting revenue dot mean. We try to get the mean revenue that we have got from the adults, that is $762.82. And if I want to check how many records, particular records are being between youths or adults, so youths or adults in the sense it adds both the people below the age of 25 and also adults ranging between 35 and 64. If I give this particular command, now I am getting a value like 73,652. That is the total number of sales. Okay. Now, if I want to get the mean revenue of the sales group of adults in United States, because there are some more countries in the data set. So if I just want to get the sales group from adults in United States, I could give a command like this, so that their mean value will be given as output over here. Okay, so now if I want to, so these are some of the use cases that could be done in this data analysis part. So this can be omitted or this could be added. So just for your understanding, I'm just explaining this. Okay, so if I want to increase the revenue by 10% to every sale that is made in France, so I can just select the country column that is equal to France, and then if I give revenue, so I'm just giving a 10% increase in all the revenues that are made in France. Okay, so if I want to give a 10% increase, so now I can multiply all the revenue. So whatever the data present under revenue, I am multiplying that by one, so that now my revenue has been increased by 10% from 787 to 865, from 297 to 3252. It has been increased. So this is how data analysis being done with the bike store sales. So this is the example which I wanted to show you all, where in this particular program itself we were able to, yeah, yes, someone called me. Okay, fine. So in this particular program itself, we were able to see how pandas is being done, how NumPy works, how the data wrangling and data cleansing process is being done, how to use Jupyter Notebook. All these processes were done using this particular program. So in conclusion, so if you want to learn data science, okay, you need to have a lot of time, and also you need to have a lot of knowledge in programming, so that if you have a logical thinking, you may know how to handle data. Okay, so with this I conclude the session. So like we look forward to working together. So if you have any queries, like if you want to enroll in any of the courses in object automation, you are welcome to do so. Here is our address as well as our contact information. So someone could just unmute themselves, so that it will be useful for me to speak. Okay, fine. So it is all right now. So that is what. So if you want to have any courses on data science or machine learning or deep learning, anything, you are welcome to do so by just contacting us. Our slide will be visible for now onwards. You can just take a screenshot, or you can just note. A screenshot would be best. Okay, you can just take a screenshot and you can contact us anytime. We will be helpful to, and we are also ready to answer all of your queries. So now this session is open for question and answers. If you have any queries or questions related to the session, you can ask it now.
Ma'am, class முடிஞ்சிருச்சா?
Hello, I pray ma'am, the session is over.
Thank you, ma'am.
Pray ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Students, can you please hold on? Like
Thank you,
I'm
ma'am.
from the organizing team.
Thank you, ma'am.
லிங்க் அனுப்பலையே மேம்.
Students,
We wish to
students,
express our gratitude
please hold on.
for being
Like
with us.
there might be any feedback from or something.
Students, kindly mute the mic, please.
ஃபீட்பேக்கா?
We wish to express our gratitude to you, sir, for being with us on this event. Your presence and gentle words are a source of encouragement for all of us. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you is the best prayer that anyone can say. Thank you expresses extreme gratitude, humility, and honesty. Now, I call upon Jolin Nicola from second year IT department to give the vote of thanks. Over to you, Jolin.
Students, kindly mute your mic.
Thank you, sir.
Students, mute your audio.
Students, kindly mute
Kindly
your
fill the
mic.
feedback box.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning to one and all. I'm J. Jalaninala of second year CC department. It's my great pleasure to propose the word of thanks on this special occasion. First, I thank our Almighty God for giving us this day. I thank our management, beloved principal, and vice principal for arranging today's event of the bridge course for our freshers. I thank our speaker, Mr. Vaibhav Raja, a research scholar in Object Automation Software Solutions Private Limited, who had given his valuable time for us in this event. I'm pretty sure that the precise knowledge gained will definitely help the freshers in their studies and future endeavors. I also thank our HODs, faculties, and students who helped us. Last but not the least, I thank our freshers whose complete involvement, patient listening, and support made this event possible with a grand success. Once again, I thank you all.
Sir, thank you, sir. Students, kindly switch on your
Students,
camera.
kindly fill the feedback and switch on your camera once to take screenshot. Switch on your camera. Students, kindly switch on your camera and kindly fill the feedback. Don't leave.
மேம் ஃபீட்பேக் கொடுத்தாச்சு மேம், போலாமா?
கேமரா ஆன் பண்ணுங்க. ஸ்கிரீன்ஷாட் எடுக்கணும். கேமரா ஆன் பண்ணுங்க. ஒன் ஸ்கிரீன்ஷாட் எடுத்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் போயிடலாம். I said, sir, kindly take the screenshots.
Okay, ma'am.
When will be the college reopen, ma'am?
நான் கொஞ்ச நேரம் இருங்க மேம்.
ஏய் வெளியே போகடா.
Taken the screenshot.
Over, ma'am.
Once you have given the feedback, you can leave. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
மேம் எடுத்துட்டீங்களா மேம்?